Big surprise. We've got the people who are going to be collecting the ballots in 2024 during the election. They just came out and endorsed Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. So when they show up to your house and they see your MAGA sign, your ballot might be going in the dumpster. This is according to the NALC, the National Association of Letter Carriers. Who are these people? You can see they work with the Postal Service. It's the Postal Service Union. They deliver mail in the United States and pick it up. We're career and non-career people. We work for our employer, the Postal Service. We deliver everywhere in the United States, 6 days a week. We're neither rain nor sleet nor snow nor shine. Your mail will be lost, whatever happens, and they just keep raising prices, and it's our mail system. But they are responsible for a lot of the mail-in voting, and so now they're endorsing Harris and Walz. Wild. Says the president is named Brian L. Renfro. Says we got 290,000 get-out-the-vote workers, active and retired city letter carriers for the NALC. We're proud to announce our endorsement of Harry Walz. The debate on Tuesday night reinforced what we already know. Kamala has a pro-labor record for illegal aliens, and we support the pro-worker vision for 2025 and beyond. Both have a strong history of fighting on behalf of unions and union members. I wonder, can illegal aliens deliver mail? I'm sure they can. California's giving them driver's licenses, so that's interesting, yeah. We know that Harris Walz will work with the NALC to address unique challenges facing letter carriers and the Postal Service. It's really hard work, I'm sure. And as a local prosecutor, State Attorney General, Senator, and Vice President Kamala Harris is a proven supporter of working families and organized labor in the Postal Service. As a senator, she was instrumental in advocating for the essential relief at the height of the pandemic, and so they just love her. So the people who are going to be collecting the ballots are now out in full force with a full throat, which is appropriate for the Kamala campaign, endorsing her.
All those in favor of the Executive Council's recommendation of approval, please signify by saying aye. Aye. The resolution and the recommendation of the Council has been adopted. The NALC proudly endorses the Harris-Walz ticket, and we will do all in our power to ensure that Kamala Harris is the next president of the United States.
We're going to do everything in our power to ensure that Kamala Harris is the next president of the United States. Everything in our power. So they'll just take your ballot, which comes from your U.S. flag waving household, and they'll just throw it right into the shredder. Oh, he loves America. Everything in our power to stop Adolf. 290,000 active get-out-the-vote people now working for the Kamala team. Isn't that interesting? Isn't that very fun? Government workers who are just going to support big government. We'll see. Maybe illegal aliens can start delivering mail, and we'll see if their jobs are at stake, like the rest of ours. Hey, former top Clinton advisor calls on ABC now to launch an internal probe into whether the debate was rigged, since the border's rigged, the registering to vote is rigged, everything's rigged. The 2016 debate with Hillary was rigged by Donna Brazile. She admitted it. Did Kamala get the questions? Top Clinton advisor called Mark Penn says there should be a formal internal investigation into its news division's planning at ABC. Because remember, Lindsay Davis admitted that she was a sorority sister with Kamala Harris. In fact, Victoria Taft published about this, said moderator Lindsay Davis in 2021 bragged that they were literally sorority sisters. Here's that story. So here's what it sounds like.
Sorority thing, I don't understand. Lindsay Davis, Robin Roberts is right. It's a sorority thing. I don't understand it all. So you have to explain it to everybody. Sure. You're a sorority sister of Kamala Harris.
Pearls are a symbol of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, which she pledged while she was at Howard University. And the strand pearls is symbolic of the unity and the sisterhood, okay? But on this day, there's actually a Facebook page of women who say wear pearls on January 20th, 2021, and hundreds of thousands of women are apparently wearing pearls in support of her.
Yeah, they were all wearing pearl necklaces. Remember that? And it was very curious. That was what they were embracing. But you heard that at the beginning. Sorority sister? The heck was that?
Lindsay Davis, Robin Roberts is right. It's a sorority thing. I don't understand it all. So you have to explain it to everybody. Sure. You're a sorority sister of Kamala Harris.
Who's not a sorority sister of Kamala Harris, like you are. Huh. Very interesting. We're asking about that. We also know that the woman, Walden, who was in charge of running ABC News, is very closely related, actually works for the Biden-Harris administration as the export policy person. So a person working for Joe is in charge of ABC News. They came under significant bipartisan criticism because its moderators fact-checked Trump, so-called, with fake facts, but not a single pushback was made at anything that Kamala said. Felt like a 3-on-1. Penn told John Solomon Reports podcast, shout out to justthenews.com, says, I actually think that they should do a full internal investigation. They should hire an outside law firm. I don't know how much of this was planned in advance. I don't know what they told the Harris campaign. I think the day after, suspicion here is really quite high, and I think a review of all their internal texts and emails really should be done by an independent party to find out to what extent that they were planning on, in effect, fact-checking just one candidate and in effect rigging the outcome of this debate. I think the situation demands nothing less than that. He's exactly right. Could you imagine their text messages between what they're saying and stuff like that? I would imagine there's a cover-up over there too. I would bet that if you looked into this, hey, we want all your emails. Federal subpoena from some lawsuit or something from a judge, they wouldn't have anything. They were using Signals, the leading app. It was a hit job. It was an attack job, and they're getting away with it. Penn is the chairman of the Harvard Caps Harris poll, also said Harris has done a good job of defining Trump, but it's still a 50-50 race. In spite of all of this, Trump is still surviving and thriving. Other publications have disclosed a questionable coziness between Dana Walden, who's co-chairman of Disney and who literally oversees ABC News. New York Times quoted Harris calling their relationship extraordinary friends, she said. She runs the news agency, and disclosed that Walden and Harris were neighbors in Brentwood, a wealthy LA enclave where Harris and her husband live. The Times also pointed out that the Waldens have donated money to Harris when she ran for DA in San Francisco. And so Mark Penn is not the only veteran Democratic pollster and advisor to criticize this. Doug Schoen, an advisor to Clinton and Bloomberg, lamented that Harris was aided and abetted by two ABC News moderators. Talk about a crime. Talk about a conspiracy. Who seemingly felt the need to fact-check virtually everything that Trump said. And so I think it's exactly right. There was a total scandal there, and they rigged it. But as we said that night, I think it's going to backfire on them. I think that a lot of people recognized it for what it is. They're bullies and they're cheaters and they're liars. Now, ABC News is responding to this saying, oh, absolutely not. No, we did not give any questions at all. Harris was not given any questions before the debate. Okay, were they talking points? Were they general topics? Were they categories? Did you guys give her categories? Did you give her statements? They always get so sneaky with these questioning these sneaky words. She was not given any questions before the debate. Okay, what does that mean? The document you gave her didn't have question marks on it? Were they just talking point sentences that ended in periods without a question mark? None of Harris' aides were in contact with the debate moderators ahead of Tuesday, they said. The point-blank denial comes after Trump, who said it was unfair and rigged. Someone else said, I watched her talk and I said, she seems pretty familiar with these questions. In the lead up to the debate, they had spelled out no topics or questions would be shared. And so even Democrats are saying, it's a little bit weird. We probably should investigate it. But they are in cover-up mode bigly. You can see this woman who really wants to beat Trump for some reason is making a lie to her dumb audience who just laps it up. And you'll notice that in 2021, they were talking about this guy called Abdul that Trump talked about during the debate, Abdul. Everybody knew Abdul. But then when Trump brought it up, no one knew Abdul anymore. And these people who are these like pseudo-Trump impersonators are lying to their audience about it. Here is the compare and contrast in the aftermath of the debate.
The man who now leads the Taliban in Afghanistan, Mullah Abdul Ghani Baradar.
Mullah Abdul Ghani Baradar, co-founder of the Taliban.
I could hear in Mullah Baradar's voice that he knew President Trump meant business.
CBS News has confirmed that CIA Director William Burns met secretly in Kabul with the Taliban's de facto leader Abdul Ghani Baradar.
We have learned that CIA Director William Burns traveled to Kabul for a secret meeting with Taliban leader Abdul Ghani Baradar.
A Taliban co-founder, Mullah Abdul Ghani Baradar, who oversaw the signing of the U.S. withdrawal agreement last year.
This is the part.
That was all the media talking about Abdul. Weird. Then we get the Trump impersonator who's trying to do the hair thing. And here's what she said.
Where Donald Trump invented someone. He invented a person who doesn't exist in addition to the people he says are eating dogs. This is another person who doesn't exist. His name is Abdul.
And Abdul is the head of the Taliban. He is still the head of the Taliban. And I told Abdul, don't do it anymore. You do it anymore, you're going to have problems.
Maybe the reason that VP Harris is looking at him that way is one that she's probably thinking maybe he should go back to the old folks home and have a bowl of Jell-O. Or she might also think to herself, no, the head of the Taliban's name is not Abdul. It is Hibatullah Akhundzada. So maybe he couldn't remember that. I had to write it down to know it. Your thoughts on his response in making up Abdul as a person that isn't real?
No one can really confirm who this Taliban person named Abdul is, who he said he talked to.
It's the bizarrest bit in the whole debate, where he describes the leader of the Taliban as a guy called Abdul. It's a completely non-existent person. He's just chosen the one Muslim name he can remember. I don't know, the leader of the Taliban saying, that guy John, who leads the West, or is it Billy? That's the kind of wacky direction she sent his head in.
Can you believe that they would actually, that's just not true, right? Their own people said the same thing, Abdul. So they're just shameless liars, and they just get talking points memos, go out there and say Abdul, and maybe go out there, maybe this is like a Muslim thing, so it's like they're going to try to create some tension with the Muslim community. Oh, he's just calling Muslims like Abdul, just like you call like Smiths or Johns or something like that. So it's really just shameless, but that's who they are. And they're all laughing about it, right? They all know who he is. They know exactly who he is. They talked about it. They reported on him many times. In fact, during Joe Biden's administration. So they know who he is. They're just shameless liars. Same thing is happening on the abortion stuff. You rewind the clock before the Democrats went even more insane than they've always been. We have Hillary Clinton talking about abortion and how maybe late-term abortions are not such a good thing. And we talked about this earlier this week. If there are no abortions happening in the 9th month, if there are not any happening, why don't we just make it illegal to have abortions? Even during the last week, could you just admit the last week? Forget the last month, the last week. Would you even agree to that or no? The answer is no, because this is not necessarily even about abortion, I think. I mean, it is, because it's their sacred cow. But they also need to put women into a bucket. And so if they settle the issue, then the issue is settled. We say, look, we've got a decent deal here. We've got first trimester, okay, no restrictions. Second trimester, maybe some restrictions. Third trimester, no abortions, right? Which was basically the Roe framework and implemented that way, right, into these 3 trimester categories. But if you solve it, right, even when we had Roe, it wasn't solved. They wanted even more abortion. So it's more about finding an issue that they can put women into a bucket, just like they do everybody else, right? Everybody else, except white people, of course, or males. They don't want white males, but all of the other people, they have to victimize. They have to make a victim somehow so that they can energize them to vote for them. While the rest of us just want our government to leave us alone, like just leave us alone. Just create an environment for us where we're not murdered on the streets, where our currency is fine, where we're not, freaking out. We're going to get air raided by foreign countries. The rest of that is we just want an even playing field and a fair shake and a functional society. But they can't deliver on that, so they have to tell everybody else, hey, we're going to give you this, and you're going to get reparations, and you're going to get freedom if we're in charge, women. Otherwise, you're going to be subjugated in little sex babies making machines, and so on and so forth. But they've moderated this now because they are accelerated the intensity of this argument, right? The abortion stuff is now giving them a big flag to hoist and a rallying cry. But this is how they used to sound.
I think abortion should remain legal, but it needs to be safe and rare. And I have spent...
You mean not drive-thrus at the DNC, like where you can just get a drive-through abortion? Hi, I'd like a number 1. Yeah, would you like a side with that?
Years now, as a private citizen, as First Lady, and now as Senator, trying to make it rare, trying to create the conditions where women had other choices. I have supported adoption, foster care. I helped to create the campaign against teenage pregnancy, which fulfilled our original goal 10 years ago of reducing teenage pregnancies by about 1/3.
This is Hillary?
And I think we have to do even more. When I think about this issue, I think about the whole range of concerns and challenges associated with it. And I will continue to do what I can to reduce the number and to improve and increase the care for women, and particularly the adoption system and the other opportunities that women would have to make different choices.
That's a whole different perspective and philosophy than what we have now. They don't even talk about that. They don't talk about adoption or other options. Abortion is to be celebrated and reveled in. They have vans at the DNC in case you want one.
I do not view abortion as a choice and a right. I think it's always a tragedy, and I think that it should be rare and safe. And I think we should be focusing on how to limit the number of abortions.
Yeah, see, because they know that it's not that popular of an opinion. And so they say those things, but we know it's much more than that. But I'll tell you, the party has shifted dramatically from this perspective. There's nobody in the DNC right now who's saying anything even remotely close to this at all. And so what has shifted so aggressively? They need women to be victimized and put a part of their narrative.